Hi, everybody. Welcome back to Supermom School Podcast. I'm your host, Mary Aldrich, and today I have a special friend here with us. Her name is Jackie Wallace. She is she's just recently gone through a coaching certification program, but even more than that, Jackie's a newly stay-at-home mom. You've been a special education teacher, and you have a child, right? You're 13 months,
14 months.
14 months old.
Yep.
Welcome to the show, Jackie. It's so great to have you today.
Thank you. I'm excited to be here.
Yeah, I'm so excited to have you on the show because I've had a number of seasoned coaches come on and talk. And honestly, most of my guests have been people that already have children, or some even their kids are grown and out of the house. And so I'm super excited to talk to you about how coaching has changed your life, and just where you are at your stage of life with a new baby, and and all that you're growing and learning. And so this is exciting. First of all, I'd love to hear just tell me a little bit about what life looks like for you right now. What's going on?
Sure. Well, like you said, so I'm recently a stay-at-home mom, like literally just a little bit over a month ago. I was a full-time special ed teacher for 5 years. Definitely did going into teaching. I definitely was thinking I was going to be teaching like my whole life. Like that was my passion at that time. And then baby came along, and once I was like on maternity leave with him and spending all this time with him, I was like, this is what I want to be doing. Like, I totally feel this is where my heart is. But that was all like a month like before like the next school year starting. So I went into the school year, and like it was hard at first. And then I kind of got into the like system and whatever of like dropping him off, going to work, coming home, all of that. And that's just not what I was wanting to be doing. Like I was driving 45 minutes one way to work. We were in the car like 2.5 hours a day, could barely get anything done when I got home. Like that's not how I wanted to live my life. And we weren't getting the family time I was really wanting. And so did a lot of praying, did a lot of coaching with my coach around the like idea of quitting my job, which was like very scary at first. I'm like, how the heck can I quit my full-time job? Like, what am I supposed to do?
Yeah.
Long story short, I quit my job. I resigned, and now I'm a stay-at-home mom, which was like one of my biggest goals for this year. Like I got to cross it off at the end of May, which was like super exciting. Like I haven't done anything huge like that before. Just a very, very big faith step on my part, which is really exciting. Had a lot of nerves, of course, but very exciting. So now I'm getting family time every single day. I'm the one like fully raising my son, which is what I was definitely wanting. And now it's like with everything I'm wanting to do and everything I'm wanting to take care of, now it's just kind of like working through finding like the balance or the systems and routines that just work best for us right now. So I know it's a lot of like trial and error, which I'm already kind of seeing, especially on days when I don't really get to choose my sleep schedule if baby's waking up or that tooth is coming in and stuff like that. So I'm also very thankful that I'm like home, because on those days, like trying to get up and go to work was like very difficult when I'm running on like maybe 2 hours of sleep. So yeah. So anyways, that's kind of how things are going right now.
That's awesome. So a couple of things that you mentioned, I'm super fascinated by. One is, you mentioned that it was a really scary process to go from working to choosing stay at home. And, I think it's interesting. I've heard people say that staying at home really is a privilege. Like, oh, you get to, like, lucky for you that you get to stay at home, right? But I'm wondering if you experienced it that way, like, oh, I'm just lucky and can stay at home, or is it really more of an act of faith in stepping out? I'm wondering how that went for you. Can you talk a little bit about that process and how that
Yeah,
felt as you were making that transition? I think that'd be
sure.
helpful.
Yeah. Well, for one, I definitely think well, I know it's an act of faith, like stepping out and just doing that. So like 100% agree on that. And then for two, like, it's funny that you say that because I can't even tell you how many people like said that I'm like so lucky to be able to do that. Like, I wish I could have done that. Or, I mean, I did have some people say like, oh, I did stay home like the first year with like my baby and it was the best decision ever. But I had a lot of people saying like, oh, you're so lucky to be able to do that. But then like, kind of just stepping aside and thinking about it, like, I'm very thankful I'm able to do that. But like at the same time, like if I was solely looking at like the current circumstances or like my current finances and all of that, it like it wouldn't make sense for me to do that at
Right.
all. Like
It's not a choice. Yeah.
right. You would tell
Not a
me
choice
I'm
you're gonna-
crazy for doing that because you'd be like, well, what, like, how are you going to provide for your family? Like, where is everything? Like,
Yeah.
I mean, so even though people like are saying I'm lucky to be able to do that, like if you really looked at everything, it wouldn't make sense. So
Mhm.
I wholeheartedly like believe it's complete act of faith. And like a lot of the like scariness that I feel like came with it was because I was so initially focused on like the how. Like, well, how am I going to bring in the income? Like, how is that going to all of a sudden come in? Or how is that going to even happen? And all of the how, like, is it going to work? And I had to really shift my focus and perspective on like, it's not the how, it's the who. And like knowing that God like will completely provide everything, he always does, and just really acting in faith and remaining in faith and really going to him about everything, rather than trying to figure it out all on my own, because if I do that, it's not going to happen. So really making sure I was putting him first with everything, especially this decision, and talking to him about it, and knowing that everything else will come, it'll happen, which I'm already starting to see that now that I've took that step and resigned and became a stay-at-home mom. Now I'm starting to see things happen.
Yeah,
So
I want to
yeah,
head there, but before we do, I want to just highlight something. One of the things that you pointed out is that so often when we're trying to figure out what, like the process of what to do next, we
yeah,
look at that how, like, how do I do this? How do I make it work? And I think what I hear you saying is that rather than focusing on the how, we step back and like really get clear on what the purpose is, who we are, who we want to be,
yeah,
who we like, what's God's purpose for us,
yeah,
and get really clear on that. And when we like what you're saying, when we step forward in that with faith, that the how sort of comes along behind. And you're so right about the fact that the how comes after. It's really hard to know how to, like, to understand fully how to do something that you've never done before.
right,
Yeah.
right.
So you mentioned you're seeing new things now, like that maybe you weren't able to see at the beginning when you made this choice. What things do you see differently now, as far as like, oh, I didn't realize it was going to be like this, and that enables me to do things differently? What things are different?
Well, for one, I wasn't even thinking about this initially when I said it, but now I am, just like actually having the time to just take care of things around our home. Like
Yes.
I wasn't even able, I mean, to be honest, when I would get home from work, I felt like I had to choose between cooking dinner, doing a load of laundry, or not having dishes in the sink. Like I felt like I had to choose one because that's all I had time for. And it
Mm,
was just it was bad. And so now I'm like able to actually like start taking care of our home, which is where we live, which gives us more of a sense of peace. And like when we have clutter and stuff everywhere, it was just very overwhelming, and I just didn't feel that sense of peace, which like then affected just kind of like how I was doing everything. So just kind of looking at it from that lens, like that's really huge for me. It might not be as huge for other people, but that was a really big thing for me, that I'm now able to see like, okay, now I'm able to like do dishes, laundry, cooking all in the same day. And I still have time for other stuff. Like I
Yeah.
can nap, like this is amazing.
Yeah.
uh,
Do you find that you
and
want to be in your house more often than you did before? Is that a thing?
yeah, I feel like yes and no. Um, I've really enjoyed like the days where we're like strictly in here, but then there have been days where it was really nice outside. I just want to be outside and like not
Yeah.
do anything else in the house. Just
Sure.
I'm a very outdoorsy person, and so is
I
my
got you.
son. But also like I'm in the Midwest, so it's like very humid and 100 degrees right now. So I'm totally fine with like staying inside doing stuff unless we're going swimming. So
Right. That makes sense.
so it's been kind of like back and forth. I really have been enjoying like just kind of being in here, being able to just tackle the things that I want to tackle and do the things I want to do like in here.
Yeah.
Um,
Curious about, here's another thing I've heard when other people have made this transition and I've talked to them, I've heard other people talk about how they find themselves saving money that they didn't expect,
yeah,
from the standpoint, like you're talking about, like I only have time to do a load of laundry or wash the dishes or make the meal. So I'll do a load of laundry and I'll get takeout, or I'll
yeah,
like, and all of a sudden when they shift, there's like money savings that even come
yes,
as a
yes,
result that you didn't really factor in
yes,
how much we spend from being overwhelmed and overworked in doing something
yeah,
else. Have you experienced any of
yeah.
those benefits?
100%. Well, for one, the big thing is gas, because I was driving
Oh,
so
right.
far to work. Like
So true.
I would have to fill up my tank basically every week. And so now looking at gas prices, I'd be blowing $80 to $100 every week on just gas now. So
Mhm.
thankful I'm saving on gas for sure. And then like you said, like there were a lot of nights. I mean, I was really trying to I started the last like couple months of teaching before I resigned. I was trying to meal plan, even if it wasn't anything like, it was never anything fancy, but at least like, so I wasn't spending time at home like figuring out what we were going to do. Like I already knew what the plan was.
Yes.
Um so that helped, but there were definitely like, I would say once a week minimum, if not like twice a week, where we would order delivery, or I tell my husband to pick up something like on the way home from him coming home from work or something. So now I'm able to like, I mean, we're a big foodie family, so we really like to eat out. So I'm really like working
Yeah.
with my husband on like, okay, like let's set a goal of like how many times we're gonna eat out. But like, because now I'm explaining like I can cook, like if we go to the grocery store, like buy this, this, and this. That way we're saving money on like meals. Like I'm able to cook, and like I want to cook. Like that's something I enjoy
Mhm.
doing. I just haven't really been able to do it. But then, and then also on top of that, just I mean, this isn't necessarily even connected with just me becoming a stay-at-home mom. But like I found like this amazing online shop club that I'm like in love with, which that's saving on money and time and all of that. Like now we're having less time going to and from the grocery store. I mean, we'll still get like our cold stuff from there, but now I have like stuff delivered to my door. It's like cheaper. Like, so that's another thing I'm saving money on, which is really, really nice. So I feel like those are like the few big things that come to my mind on like
Yeah,
saving money now that I'm home.
absolutely. It sounds like you're also really saving brain space. Like you have
Yes.
more capacity to think through things
Yes.
and make decisions that have a longer term impact
Yeah.
successfully on overall on where you want
Yeah.
to go.
Yeah. I mean, because I can't even tell you how many things I like that consumed my brain space with teaching. Like it was insane, especially this past year. Um, I did a lot of work, at least like half the year, like my coaching sessions with my coach around everything regarding work, like whether it was just the
Yeah.
aspect of teaching, whether it was the paperwork, whether it was just like just other side things happening in there, and just like a lot of stuff.
The drama.
So yes, yes, just it was. insane. So just the fact that like I don't have to think about like any of that. Like that's huge. Like I can focus and work so much on like other stuff rather than just how to get through teaching, basically.
Yeah. So what do you think? I mean, because obviously this transition, I know we've referenced that it was challenging thinking about doing this, pretty scary.
Yeah.
What do you recall? What are some of the most, or maybe the loudest beliefs that you had to overcome in order to choose something different?
Definitely how I talked about the how. Like I remember specifically working with my coach at least twice, but I think even 3 times, like literally like shifting my perspective out of the how. Like I was very stuck there.
Mm,
And I think I really had to push past the how in order to act on this decision and really shift my perspective to get out of the how in order for me to be like, it's okay to make this decision and not know how it's going to work.
yeah.
So that was, I think the big barrier for me was that how.
Were there
But
other
then
things besides how you were going to pay for things that, like, when you talk about hows, what questions came up? Like, how am I going to pay for stuff? What?
yeah, I'm trying to think. It was, the big one was definitely like, how are we going to pay for anything? It's like, how am I going to make the same amount of income that I was making with teaching? And I'm just at home. Like, how am I going to do all that? And I did also think like, okay, well, how am I still going to juggle like taking care of my baby and taking care of things around here? Cause, um, I, even though like I wanted to be home with him, just thinking about like watching and caring for a child. I mean, that's full time aside from dishes,
Right.
laundry, all the things.
Yeah.
So just thinking about that, but I don't think that's not as much where my focus was. I was really caught up, I think mainly in the financial aspect. I think that was
Yeah.
really big for me. I'm even still currently doing some work around my
Yeah.
mindset with like finances. So I think that area is just something that's a little bit more challenging for me. So I think that plus the how was really like blocking me. Um, but I just felt such a sense of peace when I would talk about like the thought of being home and being a stay-at-home mom. Like I didn't feel at peace thinking about like another year of teaching and having somebody else raise my child full time. Like I I wasn't feeling okay with that decision. So like that's one of the main reasons like that I knew God was calling me to be a stay-at-home mom, because I just felt the peace there,
Mhm.
even though there were those barriers, if that makes sense.
That's so interesting. And I think really helpful for our listeners because that's something that I think can be difficult to see when you're moving into a new idea or choosing something new, this idea that you can experience peace in something that also feels scary.
Yes.
And that the thing that feels safe and comfortable can be extremely unsettling.
Yeah.
So, what do you think? Do you have ideas around how do you know that even though it feels scary, it also feels peaceful at the same time? What do you think? Like, how do you recognize that peace if it's feeling scary like that?
Yeah. I feel like it is kind of a challenge to try to explain that to somebody, because like it's definitely taken some work on my part for sure. Because I think what I remember, when it's kind of funny because I know you're part of Mom Master University too,
Mhm.
but I just feel like that was like that's just coming up for me kind of like the first time I made any sort of like really faith-filled decision and trying to figure out like what like why do I feel like okay with this decision, but also I'm like freaking out about this decision. Like
Yeah.
that was like I feel like my moment of first really sensing that.
Mm.
And it took a lot of prayer and like work, like with just talking to God about really guiding me like with his peace and acting on like what he wants me to act on. And so it's been a process for me to like be able to identify that.
Mhm.
But I'm trying to figure out how to really like help someone
It
identify
sounds
that.
like it sounds like it comes from a clear confidence in him rather than
Yeah.
confidence in yourself.
Yes.
That's what I
Yeah.
think I hear you
Yeah.
say.
Because I feel like when it's definitely like a battle between like your flesh and your spiritual, like, because my
Absolutely.
flesh wants, I mean, like our brains are created to keep us safe. So like, of course, like my brain was wanting me to be like, oh, well, no, like your full-time job is teaching. Like that's where the income coming. That's what you have. That's where the income is coming from. Like, that's where you need to stay, like not quit your job, do something huge and not know where the income's coming from. Like that's not safe. But at the same time, like I wasn't feeling like unsettled
Mhm.
about acting on being a stay-at-home mom. I felt unsettled about continuing to teach and not be raising my child. So I feel like even though, like with all that being said, the feeling of like unsettlement, I feel like that's like the best way I can kind of figure
Yeah.
out how to explain that to somebody, if that makes sense.
Yeah. It's like you know that it's not the direction that you want to go,
Yeah.
like it's not your purpose.
Yeah.
And then when you get into alignment with where you feel like God's calling you to go, even though it might be difficult in the moment, you have this confidence to go down that path.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I feel like looking at the big picture, like what do I want big picture wise without like if I didn't have to worry about any details about anything else, like thinking about big picture, what do I want? Like,
Mhm.
and that's what I wanted. And that's what I felt peace about.
That's
And then like the details will come along with it.
yeah. Yeah. And so now you're taking on clients with
Mhm.
coaching. You've gone through your training, right? So
Yes.
you're getting an opportunity to share these tools with other people, right?
Yes. Yeah. Which
So
I'm
how's that
really
working
excited
with a
about.
new baby in the house? Like, I bet,
So yeah,
guessing that comes up for people too.
it's it's some adjusting. I feel like it is some work with my husband to kind of like figure out his work schedule and things and like when he's able to kind of occupy or take care of the baby, maybe while I'm like working with some clients. Or for at least for right now, my baby seems to have a pretty set nap time. So I
Mm.
might be able to work with the nap time, but I know that's also like I can't really totally control that. Um, so it is taking work and communication with my husband, but he is very, very supportive. We're very supportive of each other. And like, I mean, we really are open about everything we feel God is like what we feel God is leading us to do. And what we feel is best for our family and everything. So I know he's very supportive. Like even
That's
right
awesome.
now, he went ahead, even though he's very tired and his sleep schedule is off, he knew like I wanted to get on with you. And so he has the baby right now. So that's
That's
just
so
an
awesome.
example. Yeah.
Yeah. And that really is a valuable tool. I feel like, in our discussions on the Supermom School podcast, we often talk about how um, how women are making really difficult decisions to have the kind of life that they want, and we're excelling. But really,
Yeah.
there's a lot to be said for the husbands that are there backing us up, and
Yes.
like they have our backs,
Yeah. Yeah. For sure.
whether it's convenient or not.
Yeah. Yeah. It
Right.
makes a huge difference. It really makes a huge
Yeah.
difference. And even, I mean, we both have very, very supportive moms too. Very helpful moms, and that makes a difference. Because they helped out like while I was teaching to watch our son. So I know if something happens and maybe he can't watch him or he's working, I know our moms are there to reach out to too. They're very, very
Beautiful.
supportive.
Yeah. And what I love about what you're saying is that you have the capacity to spend some time getting creative about those possibilities. Like there's space to
Yes.
explore and figure it out um, rather than I think sometimes when we aren't in our purpose, there's more of a tendency to be, uh, how do I survive? How do I make and
Yeah.
almost a space of this proving that it can't work. I think
Yeah.
sometimes.
That's that's such a good way to put it. And I feel like for me also, like, knowing that it's okay to ask for help. I feel like that's something I had some work on, like trying to think like, oh, well, I can do it. Like I can figure all of it out on myself. Like I don't need help. Like, no, like these people love me. They're here to support me as well. Like I love them. I support them. Like I want them to come to me if they need help. Like it's okay for me to ask them for help. Like whether they're able to or not, at least I'm asking for help. Like that I am allowed to do that. I'm allowed to ask for help.
Yeah.
So that's
Well,
that. I feel like
that
that's
is,
something big.
yeah, that's huge and such a valuable tool for anybody. But I would say in your walk, in your stage of life where you're a young mom with new kid, my guess is that sometimes it can feel like I shouldn't need help yet. Like I
Yeah.
should be able to do this stage on my own. I probably should need help down the road, but not yet. Not,
Yeah.
does that ever come up? That
Oh,
kind of an idea?
absolutely. I feel like even like within the first day of like being home from the hospital and everything. And like even now, like even last night, I like even apologized to my husband because I think I like, I don't know, I wasn't accepting help or something. I don't even remember exactly what it was, but I was just like, you know what? Like I was literally trying to do everything on my own. You
Mm,
were there to help. I didn't even ask you for help. And like, I'm sorry. Like I know I can ask for help. And I just got in the mindset of like, no, I got it. Like I can do all of this. But then I'm like, I mean, then I'm up really late. I'm not caring for myself as best as I can because I'm trying to do everything. But like, I do have a husband. He's here. Like I can't ask for help. Like it's okay. Like I don't have to do everything. But I feel like I I mean, that's a whole nother road we can go down. But I just feel
sure.
like us moms get so caught up in our heads and we feel like we got to be super mom, which means we have to do every single thing. We don't need anybody else to help us, but that's 100% not true.
Yeah. Yeah. Which is part of what we're trying to change, that dynamic of a super mom actually does look for resources and
Yes.
reach out for help and
Yes.
delegate and have a team around that. She's not an island to herself.
Right. Right.
So, and it's amazing that you're doing that. And I love the encouragement that you're giving our listeners that, that reaching out for help and getting support is the best thing that you could do.
Yes.
Uh,
Yes.
Long before you think, okay, now I have to have help.
Right. Right. Like
Yeah.
even just very little things like that. I mean, you're fully capable of doing it, but you also have like 1,000 other things to do as a mom. So
Yeah.
if it's something someone can help you with, ask for help. Like
Yeah.
it's okay.
Yeah. And I think you bring up a good point too. I was thinking about at that stage of life, whether you're in the place of you have one kid or like I have seven, the idea is that you haven't done this stage of life before. So it doesn't really matter what the circumstance is, it's new. And with newness comes a need for help, sometimes a need for people who have gone that path before. So I love that you're promoting that kind of concept with other people. That's amazing.
I so you for some reason my phone completely froze.
Uh-oh.
I definitely missed the whole last chunk of what you said. I'm
Oh, I was just
sorry.
saying, I love that really, whether you've got one kid or seven, like, so you've got one, I've got seven, but whatever we're doing, it's a new experience, right? And
Yeah, yeah.
anytime we're going into a new experience, just because somebody else's experience doesn't necessarily mean that, like, that doesn't give us the confidence and the experience that we
Right.
need. So
Right.
we need other people. We need people who've
Yeah.
gone that path before,
Yes.
and it's so easy to forget that. So
Yeah.
thanks for the reminder here. That's
Yeah, of
cool.
course.
We're almost out of time here, and I wanted to make sure that people know, uh, that you're a new coach.
Mhm.
You're taking clients now.
Yeah.
So that's
Yeah.
exciting.
Yeah.
And how could people get in touch with you if they were interested in talking to you more about just how to navigate this type of time in their life? How
Yeah.
would they get in touch with you?
I mean, I'm available via email, or if
Okay,
someone finds me on Facebook, can add me on Facebook and send me a message. I'm available both ways. So,
that's
but yeah, and
awesome.
I just really want to encourage anyone listening, like if you are just feeling stuck and having a really hard time, like it's okay to reach out for help. Like I reached out to somebody about becoming my life coach. Like they didn't reach out to me, like I reached out to them because I knew I was wanting to make some changes, and I knew it was going to take some action, and I had to tell myself like it's okay to reach out and ask for help. Like if I continue to sit here, I'm not going to really make the changes I'm looking for, or maybe as drastic or as fast as I'm wanting. So it's okay to reach out for help. It's really
Yeah.
okay.
Yeah. I love that you said not as fast as what I really want, because
Yeah.
I think it's true that we can make changes without help over time, but it takes so much longer to
Yes.
do that
Yes.
than if we get somebody to come alongside us.
Right.
Help us.
100%.
Our
Yeah.
brains get in our way.
Yep. Yep. They try to keep us safe. That's what they're trying to do.
Yeah. Oh my goodness. Jackie, it's been a delight talking to you today. Thank you
Uh,
so much for joining me.
yeah. Thank you for having
We'll
me.
make sure that your address, jnwallace027@gmail.com, that'll be in the show notes. And we'll link up your Facebook profile. So if somebody wants to Facebook message you there to get in touch with you. I know that you are taking new clients, and you said that you offered a free one-on-one session for anybody who
Yeah.
just wants to try it out. That's
Yeah.
awesome.
Yeah. It's
So
really
yeah,
exciting.
so if you're listening and you're thinking, hey, I might could reach out for some help. Yeah, give Jackie a call, and I know she can help you out. Thanks so much, Jackie, for being here today.
Yeah. Thank you for having me.